Orthodox Judaism is the approach to religious Judaism which adheres to the interpretation and application of the laws and ethics of the Torah as legislated in the Talmudic texts by the Tanaim and Amoraim and subsequently developed and applied by the later authorities known as the Gaonim, Rishonim, and Acharonim. Orthodox Judaism generally includes Modern Orthodox Judaism and Ultra-Orthodox or Haredi Judaism, but complete within is a wide range of philosophies. Orthodox Judaism is a modern self-conscious identification that, for some, distinguishes it from traditional premodern Judaism, although it was the mainstream expression of Judaism prior to the 19th century. As of 2001, Orthodox Jews and Jews affiliated with an Orthodox synagogue accounted for approximately 50% of British Jews, 25% of Israeli Jews and 13% of American Jews. The majority of Jews killed during the Holocaust were religiously Orthodox. It is estimated that they numbered between 50 to 70% of those who perished. Terminology: Orthodoxy is not a single movement or school of thought. There is no single rabbinical body to which all rabbis are expected to belong, or any one organization representing member congregations. In the United States, there are numerous Jewish Orthodox organizations, such as Agudath Israel, the Orthodox Union and the National Council of Young Israel, none of which can claim to represent a majority of all Orthodox congregations. In the 20th century, a segment of the Orthodox population disagreed with modern Orthodoxy and took a stricter approach. Such rabbis viewed innovations and modifications within Jewish law and customs with extreme care and caution. Some observers and scholars refer to this form of Judaism as Haredi Judaism, or Ultra-Orthodox Judaism. The latter term is controversial, and some consider the label Ultra-Orthodox pejorative. Several media entities refrain from using the term Ultra-Orthodox, including the Religion News Writers Association, JTA, the Global Jewish News Service, and the Star Ledger, New Jersey unregistered trademark S largest daily newspaper, according the New Jersey Press Association. New Jersey attorney Stephen E. Schwartz, Esquire, convinced the Star Ledger to become the first mainstream newspaper to drop the term. Several local Jewish papers, including Jewish Week in New York and Jewish Exponent in Philadelphia, have also dropped use of the term. According to Rabbi Shimon Gelmeyer, spiritual leader of Temple Israel Community Center in Cliffside Park and former executive editor of Jewish Week, this leaves Orthodox as an umbrella term that designates a very widely disparate group of people very loosely tied together by some core beliefs. History, roots of Orthodox Judaism. The roots of Orthodox Judaism can be traced to the late 18th or early 19th century, as a response to the Age of Enlightenment, Jewish emancipation and Haskalah, whereby elements within German Jewry sought to reform Jewish belief and practice in the early 19th century. They sought to modernize education in light of contemporary scholarship. They rejected claims of absolute divine authorship of the Torah, declaring only those biblical laws concerning ethics to be binding, and stated that the rest of halakha need not be viewed as normative for Jews in wider society. In reaction to the emergence of Reform Judaism, a group of traditionalist German Jews emerged who supported some of the values of the Haskalah but who wanted to defend a conservative, traditional interpretation of Jewish law and tradition. This group was led by those who opposed the establishment of a new temple in Hamburg, 1819, as reflected in the booklet Il Divrei HaBerit. As a group of Reform rabbis convened in Braunschweig, Rabbi Jacob Ettlinger of Altona published a manifesto in German and Hebrew Shlomi Munai Israel, having 177 rabbis signing on. At this time the first Orthodox Jewish periodical was launched, Der Tre Zion's Werekter, with the Hebrew supplement Shomer Zion Heinemann, 1845-1855. In later years it was Rav Ettlinger's students Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch and Rabbi Azriel Hildesheimer of Berlin who deepened the awareness and strength of Orthodox Jewry. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch commented in 1854 that it was not the Orthodox Jews who introduced the word orthodoxy into Jewish discussion. It was the modern progressive Jews who first applied this name to old, backward Jews as a derogatory term. This name was at first resented by old Jews. And rightly so. Orthodox Judaism does not know any varieties of Judaism. It conceives Judaism as one and indivisible. It does not know a Mosaic, prophetic and rabbinic Judaism, nor Orthodox and liberal Judaism. It only knows Judaism and non-Judaism. It does not know Orthodox and liberal Jews. It does indeed know conscientious and indifferent Jews, good Jews, bad Jews or baptized Jews. All, nevertheless, Jews with a mission which they cannot cast off. They are only distinguished accordingly as they fulfill or reject their mission. Hirsch held that Judaism demands an application of Torah thought to the entire realm of human experience, including the secular disciplines. His approach was termed the Torah im Derech Eretz approach, or neo-orthodoxy. While insisting on strict adherence to Jewish beliefs and practices, he held that Jews should attempt to engage and influence the modern world, and encourage those secular studies compatible with Torah thought. This pattern of religious and secular involvement has been evident at many times in Jewish history. Scholars believe it was characteristic of the Jews in Babylon during the Amoraic and Gaonic periods, and likewise in early medieval Spain, shown by their engagement with both Muslim and Christian society. It appeared as the traditional response to cultural and scientific innovation. Some scholars believe that modern orthodoxy arose from the religious and social realities of Western European Jewry. While most Jews consider modern orthodoxy traditional today, some within the Orthodox community groups to its right consider it of questionable validity. The neo-Orthodox movement holds that Hirsch's views are not accurately followed by modern orthodoxy. See Torah im Derech Eretz and Torah Umada relationship with Torah im Derech Eretz for a more extensive listing. Development of Orthodox religious practice. Contemporary Orthodox Jews believe that they adhere to the same basic philosophy and legal framework that has existed throughout Jewish history, whereas the other denominations depart from it. Orthodox Judaism, as it exists today, is an outgrowth that claims to extend from the time of Moses, to the time of the Mishnah and Talmud, through the development of oral law and rabbinic literature, until the present time. However, the Orthodox claim to absolute fidelity to past tradition has been challenged by scholars who contend that the Judaism of the Middle Ages bore little resemblance to that practiced by today's Orthodox. Rather, the Orthodox community, as a counter-reaction to the liberalism of the Haskalah movement, began to embrace far more stringent halachic practices than their predecessors, most notably in matters of kashrut and Passover dietary laws, where the strictest possible interpretation becomes a religious requirement, even where the Talmud explicitly prefers a more lenient position, and even where a more lenient position was practiced by prior generations. Jewish historians also note that certain customs of today's Orthodox are not continuations of past practice, but instead represent innovations that would have been unknown to prior generations. For example, the now widespread Haredi tradition of cutting a boy's hair for the first time on his third birthday originated as an Arab custom that parents cut a newborn boy's hair and burned it in a fire as a sacrifice, and Jews in Palestine learned this custom from Arabs and adapted it to a special Jewish context. Similarly, the Ashkenazi prohibition against eating katayot during Passover was explicitly rejected in the Talmud, has no known precedent before the 12th century and represented a minority position for hundreds of years thereafter, but nonetheless has become a mandatory prohibition among Ashkenazi Orthodoxy. Growth of Orthodox affiliation. In practice, the emphasis on strictness has resulted in the rise of homogeneous enclaves with other Haredi Jews that are less likely to be threatened by assimilation and intermarriage, or even to interact with other Jews who do not share their doctrines. Nevertheless, this strategy has proved successful and the number of adherents to Orthodox Judaism, especially Haredi and Chassidic communities, has grown rapidly. Some scholars estimate more Jewish men are studying in yeshivot and kollelim students, than at any other time in history. In 1915 Yeshiva College and its Rabbi Isaac Elkanan Theological Seminary was established in New York City for training in an Orthodox milieu. A school branch was established in Los Angeles, California. A number of other influential Orthodox seminaries, mostly Haredi, were established throughout the country, most notably in New York, Baltimore, Maryland, and Chicago, Illinois. Beth Midrash Govah, the Haredi Yeshiva in Lakewood, New Jersey is the largest Talmudic academy in the United States, with a student body of over 5,000 students. Streams of orthodoxy. Orthodox Judaism is heterogeneous, whereby subgroups maintain significant social differences, and less significant differences in understanding halakha. What unifies various groups under the Orthodox umbrella is the central belief that Torah, including the oral law, was given directly from God to Moses at Mount Sinai and applies in all times and places. Haredi Judaism asserts that it may no longer be changed in any fashion. As a result, all Orthodox Jews are required to live in accordance with the commandments and Jewish law. Since there is no one Orthodox body, there is no one canonical statement of principles of faith. Rather, each Orthodox group claims to be a non-exclusive heir to the received tradition of Jewish theology, while still affirming a literal acceptance of Maimonides' 13 principles. Given this philosophic flexibility, variant viewpoints are possible, particularly in areas not explicitly demarcated by the halakha. The result is a relatively broad range of hashkath within orthodoxy. The greatest differences within strains of orthodoxy involve the following issues: the degree to which an Orthodox Jew should integrate and/or disengage from secular society, based, in part, on varying interpretations of the three oaths, whether Zionism is part of Judaism or opposed to it, and defining the role of the modern State of Israel in Judaism, their spiritual approach to Torah such as the relative roles of mainstream Talmudic study and mysticism or ethics, the validity of secular knowledge including critical Jewish scholarship of rabbinic literature and modern philosophical ideas, whether the Talmudic obligation to learn while also practicing a trade profession applies in our times, the centrality of yeshivas as the place for personal Torah study, the validity of authoritative spiritual guidance in areas outside of halakhic decision, the importance of maintaining non-halakhic customs, such as dress, language and music, the role of women in society, the nature of the relationship with non-Jews, based on their philosophy and doctrine vis-à-vis these core issues. Adherents to orthodoxy can roughly be divided into the subgroups of Modern Orthodox Judaism and Haredi Judaism, with most Hasidic Jewish groups falling into the latter category. Modern Orthodoxy comprises a fairly broad spectrum of movements, each drawing on several distinct though related philosophies, which in some combination have provided the basis for all variations of the movement today. In general, Modern Orthodoxy holds that Jewish law is normative and binding, while simultaneously attaching a positive value to interaction with contemporary society. In this view, Orthodox Judaism can reach either by its intersection with modernity. Further, a modern society creates opportunities to be productive citizens engaged in the divine work of transforming the world to benefit humanity. At the same time, in order to preserve the integrity of halakha, any area of a powerful inconsistency and conflict between Torah and modern culture must be avoided. Modern Orthodoxy, additionally, assigns a central role to the people of Israel. Modern Orthodoxy, as a minor stream of Orthodox Judaism represented by institutions such as the U.S. National Council for Young Israel, is pro-Zionist and thus places a high national, as well as religious, significance on the State of Israel, and its affiliates are, typically, Zionist in orientation. It also practices involvement with non-Orthodox Jews that extends beyond outreach to continued institutional relations and cooperation. See further under Torah Umada. Other core beliefs are a recognition of the value and importance of secular studies, a commitment to equality of education for both men and women, and a full acceptance of the importance of being able to financially support oneself and one's family. Haredi Judaism advocates segregation from non-Jewish culture, although not from non-Jewish society entirely. It is characterized by its focus on community-wide Torah study. Haredi Orthodoxy's differences with modern Orthodoxy usually lie in interpretation of the nature of traditional halakhic concepts and an acceptable application of these concepts. Thus, engaging in the commercial world is a legitimate means to achieving a livelihood, but individuals should participate in modern society as little as possible. The same outlook is applied with regard to obtaining degrees necessary to enter one's intended profession, where tolerated in the Haredi society. Attending secular institutions of higher education is viewed as a necessary but inferior activity. Academic interest is instead to be directed toward the religious education found in the yeshiva. Both boys and girls attend school and may proceed to higher Torah study, starting anywhere between the ages of 13 and 18. A significant proportion of students, especially boys, remain in yeshiva until marriage, and many study in a kollel for many years after marriage. Most Orthodox men, even those not in kollel, will study Torah daily. Hassidic Judaism, Hasidic or Hasidic Judaism overlaps significantly with Haredi Judaism in its engagement with the secular and commercial world, and as regards social issues. It differs, however, in its origins and, relatedly, in its focus. The movement originated in Eastern Europe in the 18th century. Founded by Israel ben Eliezer, known as the Baal Shem Tov, it originated in an age of persecution of the Jewish people, when a schism existed between scholarly and common European Jews. In addition to bridging this class gap, Hasidic teaching sought to reintroduce joy in the performance of the commandments and in prayer through the popularization of Jewish mysticism. The Baal Shem Tov sought to combine rigorous scholarship with more emotional mitzvah observance. In a practical sense, what distinguishes Hasidic Judaism from other forms of Haredi Judaism is the close-knit organization of Hasidic communities centered around a rebbe, and various customs and modes of dress particular to each community. In some cases there are religious ideological distinctions between Hasidic groups, as well. Another phenomenon that sets Hasidic Judaism apart from general Haredi Judaism is the strong emphasis placed on speaking Yiddish. In Hasidic households and communities, Yiddish is spoken exclusively. In practice, for guidance in practical application of Jewish law, the majority of Orthodox Jews appeal to the Shulchan Aruch together with its surrounding commentaries. Thus, at a general level, there is a large degree of uniformity amongst all Orthodox Jews. Concerning the details, however, there is often variance. Decisions may be based on various of the standardized codes of Jewish law that have been developed over the centuries, as well as on the various responsa. These codes and responsa may differ from each other as regards detail. By and large, however, the differences result from the historic dispersal of the Jews and the consequent development of differences among regions in their practices. Mizrahi and Sephardic Orthodox Jews base their practice on the Shulchan Aruch. The recent works of halakha, Kaf HaChaim, Ben Ish Chai and Yalkut Yosef are considered authoritative in many Sephardic communities. Thus Mizrahi and Sephardi Jews may choose to follow the opinion of the Ben Ish Chai when it conflicts with the Shulchan Aruch. Some of these practices are derived from the Kabbalistic school of Isaac Luria. Ashkenazic Orthodox Jews have traditionally based most of their practices on the Rima, the gloss on the Shulchan Aruch by Rabbi Moses Isserles, reflecting differences between Ashkenazi and Sephardi custom. In the post-World War II period, the Mishnah Berurah has become authoritative. Ashkenazi Jews may choose to follow the Mishnah Berurah instead of a particular detail of Jewish law as presented in the Shulchan Aruch. Chabad Lubavitch Hasidim and many other Hasidic sects generally follow the rulings of Shneul Zalman of Liadi in the Shulchan Aruch HaRav. Traditional Baladi and Derd Dame base most of their practices on the Mishneh Torah, the compendium by Maimonides of halakha, written several centuries before the Shulchan Aruch. The Amidai HaRambam also keep Jewish law as codified in the Mishneh Torah. A smaller number, such as the Romaniot Jews, traditionally rule according to the Jerusalem Talmud over the Babylonian Talmud. Spanish and Portuguese Jews consider the Shulchan Aruch authoritatively but differ from other Sephardim by making less allowance for more recent authorities, in particular customs based on the Kabbalah. Some customs are based on Maimonides or the Arba Acharonim. Orthodox Judaism emphasizes practicing rules of kashrut, Shabbat, family purity, and tefillah. Externally, Orthodox Jews can be identified by their manner of dress and family lifestyle. Orthodox women dress modestly by keeping most of their skin covered. Additionally, married women cover their hair, most commonly in the form of a scarf, also in the form of hats, bandanas, berets, snoods or, sometimes, wigs. Orthodox men wear a skull cap known as a kippah and often fringes called zit. Haredi men often grow beards and always wear black hats and suits, indoors and outdoors. However, modern Orthodox Jews are commonly indistinguishable in their dress from those around them. Beliefs. Orthodox Judaism is composed of different groups with intertwining beliefs, practices and theologies, although in their core beliefs, all Orthodox movements share the same principles. Orthodoxy collectively considers itself the only true heir to the Jewish tradition. The Orthodox Jewish movements generally consider all non-Orthodox Jewish movements to be unacceptable deviations from authentic Judaism. Both because of other denominations' doubt concerning the verbal revelation of written and oral Torah, and because of their rejection of halakhic precedent as binding. As such, Orthodox groups characterize non-Orthodox forms of Judaism as heretical. See the article on relationships between Jewish religious movements. Orthodox Judaism affirms monotheism, or the belief in one God. Among the in-depth explanations of that belief are Maimonidean rationalism, Kabbalistic mysticism, and Hassidic philosophy. A few affirm self-limited omniscience. Orthodox Judaism maintains the historical understanding of Jewish identity. A Jew is someone who was born to a Jewish mother, or who converts to Judaism in accordance with Jewish law and tradition. Orthodoxy thus rejects patrilineal descent as a means of establishing Jewish national identity. Similarly, Orthodoxy strongly condemns intermarriage. Intermarriage is seen as a deliberate rejection of Judaism, and an intermarried person is effectively cut off from most of the Orthodox community. However, some Orthodox Jewish organizations do reach out to intermarried Jews. Orthodox Judaism holds that the words of the Torah, including both the written law and those parts of the oral law which are halakha Moshe Sinai, were dictated by God to Moses essentially as they exist today. The laws contained in the written Torah were given along with detailed explanations as how to apply and interpret them, the oral law. Although Orthodox Jews believe that many elements of current religious law were decreed or added as fences around the law by the rabbis, all Orthodox Jews believe that there is an underlying core of Sinaitic law and that this core of the religious laws Orthodox Jews know today is thus directly derived from Sinai and directly reflects the divine will. As such, Orthodox Jews believe that one must be extremely careful in interpreting Jewish law. Orthodox Judaism holds that, given Jewish law's divine origin, no underlying principle may be compromised in accounting for changing political, social or economic conditions. In this sense, creativity and development in Jewish law is limited. However, there is significant disagreement within Orthodox Judaism, particularly between Haredi Judaism and Modern Orthodox Judaism, about the extent and circumstances under which the proper application of halakha should be re-examined as a result of changing realities. As a general rule, Haredi Jews believe that when at all possible the law should be maintained as it was understood by their authorities at the Haskell, believing that it had never changed. Modern Orthodox authorities are more willing to assume that under scrupulous examination, identical principles may lead to different applications in the context of modern life. To the Orthodox Jew, halakha is a guide, God's law, governing the structure of daily life from the moment he or she wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep. It includes codes of behavior applicable to a broad range of circumstances. There are though a number of meta-principles that guide the halakhic process, and in an instance of opposition between a specific halakha and a meta-principle, the meta-principle often wins out. Examples of halakhic meta-principles are, Drakar Dachunom, the ways of Torah are pleasant, Kavod Habriot, basic respect for human beings, Piquach Nefesh, the sanctity of human life. Orthodox Judaism holds that on Mount Sinai the written law was transmitted along with an oral law. The words of the Torah were spoken to Moses by God. The laws contained in this written Torah, the mitzvot, were given along with detailed explanations in the oral tradition as to how to apply and interpret them. Furthermore, the oral law includes principles designed to create new rules. The oral law is held to be transmitted with an extremely high degree of accuracy. Jewish theologians, who choose to emphasize the more evolutionary nature of the halakha, point to a famous story in the Talmud, where Moses is miraculously transported to the house of study of Rabbi Akiva and is clearly unable to follow the ensuing discussion. According to Orthodox Judaism, Jewish law today is based on the commandments in the Torah, as viewed through the discussions and debates contained in classical rabbinic literature, especially the Mishnah and the Talmud. Orthodox Judaism thus holds that the halakha represents the will of God either directly, or as closely to directly as possible. The laws are from the Word of God in the Torah, using a set of rules also revealed by God to Moses on Mount Sinai, and have been derived with the utmost accuracy and care, and thus the oral law is considered to be no less the Word of God. If some of the details of Jewish law may have been lost over the millennia, they were reconstructed in accordance with internally consistent rules. See the 13 rules by which Jewish law was derived. In this worldview, the Mishnaic and Talmudic rabbis are closer to the divine revelation. By corollary, one must be extremely conservative in changing or adapting Jewish law. Orthodox Jews will also study the Talmud for its own sake. This is considered to be the greatest mitzvah of all. See Torah study. Haredi and modern Orthodox Judaism vary somewhat in their view of the validity of halakhic reconsideration. It is held virtually as a principle of belief among many Haredi Jews that halakha never changes. Haredi Judaism thus views higher criticism of the Talmud as inappropriate, and almost certainly heretical. At the same time, many self-proclaimed modern Orthodox Jews do not have a problem with historical scholarship in this area. See the entry on historical analysis of the Talmud. Some modern Orthodox Jews are also somewhat more willing to consider revisiting questions of Jewish law through Talmudic arguments. Although in practice such instances are rare, they do exist. Notable examples include acceptance of rules permitting farming during the Shemitah year and permitting the advanced religious education of women. In the United States, although sizable Orthodox Jewish communities are located throughout the United States, the majority of American Orthodox Jews live in New York State, particularly in the New York City metropolitan area. Two of the main Orthodox communities in the United States are located in New York City and Rockland County. In New York City, the neighborhoods of Borough Park, Williamsburg, and Crown Heights, located in the borough of Brooklyn, have particularly large Orthodox communities. The most rapidly growing community of American Orthodox Jews is located in Rockland County and the Hudson Valley of New York, including the communities of Monsey, Monroe, New Square, and Carias Joel. There are also sizable and rapidly growing Orthodox communities throughout New Jersey, particularly in Lakewood, Teaneck, Englewood, Passaic, and Fair Lawn. In addition, Maryland has a large number of Orthodox Jews, many of whom live in Baltimore, particularly in the Park Heights, Mount Washington, and Pikesville areas. Two other large Orthodox Jewish centers are southern Florida, particularly Miami Beach, and the Los Angeles area of California. In contrast to the general American Jewish community, which is dwindling due to low fertility and high intermarriage and assimilation rates, the Orthodox Jewish community of the United States is growing rapidly. Among Orthodox Jews, the fertility rate stands at about 4.1 children per family, as compared to 1.9 children per family among non-Orthodox Jews, and intermarriage among Orthodox Jews is practically non-existent, standing at about 2%, in contrast to a 71% intermarriage rate among non-Orthodox Jews. In addition, Orthodox Judaism has a growing retention rate. While about half of those raised in Orthodox homes previously abandoned Orthodox Judaism, that number is declining. According to the New York Times, the high growth rate of Orthodox Jews will eventually render them the dominant demographic force in New York Jewry. Politically, Orthodox Jews, given their variety of movements and affiliations, tend not to conform easily to the standard left-right political spectrum, with one of the key differences between the movements stemming from the group's attitudes to Zionism. Generally speaking, of the three key strands of Orthodox Judaism, Haredi Orthodox and Hasidic Orthodox Jews are at best ambivalent towards the ideology of Zionism and the creation of the State of Israel, and there are many groups and organizations who are outspokenly anti-Zionistic, seeing the ideology of Zionism as diametrically opposed to the teaching of the Torah and the Zionist administration of the State of Israel, with its emphasis on militarism and nationalism, as destructive of the Judaic way of life. On the other hand, Orthodox Jews subscribing to modern Orthodoxy in its American and UK incarnations, tend to be far more right-wing than both non-Orthodox and other Orthodox Jews. While the overwhelming majority of non-Orthodox American Jews are on average strongly liberal and supporters of the Democratic Party, the modern Orthodox subgroup of Orthodox Judaism tends to be far more conservative, with roughly half describing themselves as political conservatives, and are mostly Republican Party supporters. Modern Orthodox Jews, compared to both the non-Orthodox American Jewry and the Haredi and Hassidic Jewry, also tend to have a stronger connection to Israel due to their attachment to Zionism. Movements, organizations and groups. Agudath Israel of America is the largest and most influential Haredi organization in America. Its roots go back to the establishment of the original founding of the Agudath Israel movement in 1912 in Katowice, Prussia. The American Agudath Israel was founded in 1939. There is an Agudath Israel in Israel, and also Deikel HaTorah, as well as an Agudath Israel of Europe. These groups are loosely affiliated through the World Agudath Israel, which from time to time holds a major gathering in Israel called a Nesha. Aguda unites many rabbinic leaders from the Hassidic Judaism wing with those of the non-Hassidic yeshiva world. It is generally non-nationalistic and ambivalent towards the modern State of Israel. The Union of Orthodox Jewish Congregations of America, known as the Orthodox Union, or OU, and the Rabbinical Council of America, RCA, are organizations that represent modern Orthodox Judaism, a large segment of Orthodoxy in the United States and Canada. These groups should not be confused with the similarly named Union of Orthodox Rabbis. The National Council of Young Israel and the Council of Young Israel Rabbis are smaller groups that were founded as modern Orthodox organizations, are Zionistic, and are in the right wing of modern Orthodox Judaism. Young Israel strongly supports and allies itself with the settlement movement in Israel. While the lay membership of synagogues affiliated with the NCYI are almost exclusively modern Orthodox in orientation, the rabbinical leadership of the synagogues ranges from modern Orthodox to Haredi. The Chief Rabbinate of Israel was founded with the intention of representing all of Judaism within the State of Israel, and has two chief rabbis, one is Ashkenazic and one is Sephardic. The rabbinate has never been accepted by most Israeli Haredi groups. Since the 1960s, the Chief Rabbinate of Israel has moved somewhat closer to the positions of Haredi Judaism. Mizrachi, and political parties such as Mofdal and National Union all represent certain sectors within the religious Zionist movement, both in diaspora and Israel. The defunct Gaonim, Maimad, Zohar, Hasid and other movements represent over competing divisions within the sector. They firmly believe in the land of Israel for the people of Israel according to the principles Torah of Israel. Although Maimad are pragmatic about such program. Gaonim are the settlement wing of National Union and support widespread Karuv as well, through such institutions as Mashmu, Merkaz HaRav and Rabbi Shlomo Aviner. Another sector includes the Hadol faction, which tends to be unallied to the government and quite centristic. Chabad Lubavitch is a branch of Hasidic Judaism widely known for its emphasis on outreach and education. The organization has been in existence for 200 years, and especially after the Second World War, it began sending out emissaries who have as a mission the bringing back of disaffected Jews to a level of observance consistent with authentic and proper norms. They are major players in what is known as the Baal Teshuvah movement. Their mandate is to make non-observant Jews more observant. In Israel, although it shares a similar agenda with the Sephardic Shas political party, Shas is more bipartisan when it comes to its own issues and non-nationalistic, based with a huge emphasis on Sephardi and Mizrahi Judaism. Shas has its own positions and plays a more prominent role in the government of the state, usually having something to say about almost every Jewish issue. It is usually in fierce contention with Agudath Israel and Israel. The Agudath HaRabbonim, also known as the Union of Orthodox Rabbis of the United States and Canada, is a small Haredi-leaning organization founded in 1902. It should not be confused with the Union of Orthodox Jewish Congregations of America, which is a separate organization. While at one time influential within Orthodox Judaism, the Agudath HaRabbonim in the last several decades has progressively moved further to the right. Its membership has been dropping and it has been relatively inactive. Some of its members are rabbis from Chabad Lubavitch. Some are also members of the RCA. It is currently most famous for its 1997 declaration that the conservative and reform movements are not Judaism at all. The Central Rabbinical Congress of the United States and Canada was established in 1952. It is an anti-Zionist, Haredi organization, closely aligned with the Satmar Hasidic group, which has about 100,000 adherents, and like-minded Haredi groups. The left-wing Modern Orthodox Advocacy Group, EDA, formed from United States Modern Orthodox rabbis. Most of its membership came from synagogues affiliated with the Union of Orthodox Congregations and RCA. Their motto was, "The courage to be modern and orthodox." EDA ceased operations in 2007 and merged some of its programs into the left-wing Yeshivat Shovavei Torah. The Bar Yaakov educational movement, begun in 1917, introduced the concept of formal Judaic schooling for Orthodox women. See also. References. External links, Your Complete Guide to Brocco's, Origins of Orthodox Judaism, The Different Orthodox Jewish Groups, The State of Orthodox Judaism Today, Orthodox Judaism in Israel, Orthodox Jewish Population Growth and Political Changes, Culture and Orthodox Books, Information on Orthodox Jewish Culture,